All right, Love is Blind Season 7, Episode 2. I felt like the edit was a lot more even this episode, so there's a lot more couples to talk about. But we have to start with the couple I complained about the most at the end of Episode 1, and that's Garrett and Taylor. Going back to that edit in Episode 1, as I stated last time, this is my first time ever watching this show, starting 7 seasons in, so I'm late to the game. I don't know what to make of the editing, so I don't know what kind of editing to expect. But I felt like in the first episode, the editing specifically made Garrett seem very shady with the comment towards Taylor, trying to flip things on her, saying she's calculated when all she was really doing is telling him she didn't want him to know her ethnicity yet. And that is kind of the whole point of the show. You're not seeing this person. She wants Garrett to like her for her, which makes sense with the concept of the show. So his reaction was just shady, trying to make her feel bad for her own insecurities when he clearly had some insecurities with her questioning him if he's only dated white women, which he had. Regardless, this couple made the most progress in episode 2, for better or for worse. I still don't know how to feel about them. I understand their point of views. They, to me, are awkward, but they feel chemistry with each other on this chatting level. So I have to believe them that they have this chemistry together. It's just that edit in episode 1, to me, I don't know if I should expect the worst. Because why would an editor or a producer throw in that editing in episode 1 to make Garrett kind of look bad if I'm not to expect something down the line? Or was it just a trick edit to cause a little bit of grief between them, when in reality they are the fastest moving couple? I'm shocked that we have a proposal 9 days into the show, but maybe that's the pace the show usually moves. Seems like a lot happening way too fast, in my opinion, but here they are. I like Taylor. I like her personality. I like that she tried to play hard to get with Garrett in some of their conversations to make Garrett kind of put in the work to become a real couple, I guess. I think Taylor carries the personality of those two's relationship for sure. What seemed to win them over with each other was gift giving. Maybe that is their love language, both of them, because that seemed to work for both of them. And that seemed to be what progressed their relationship to move as fast as it has moved. Taylor's letter was very sweet. Like I said, I think Taylor is what somewhat makes this couple likable. Apologies for the sirens. But yeah, I think Taylor is the one that makes this couple more likable, while Garrett's kind of very dry. But look, 9 days, they move fast. I said at the end of episode 1 in my first video, I would give Garrett more of a chance, and that's what I'm doing. I don't necessarily love them as a couple, but they're the fastest moving couple. They're going to be the first ones to see each other this season. That's how the episode 2 ended. We didn't get to see them see each other yet. And by the end, Garrett was saying he doesn't care what ethnicity Taylor is. So maybe they'll actually work out, even if I don't like Garrett and even if I don't feel the chemistry between them. Another big talking point of episode 1 was the Hannah and Nick situation, which I talked about, which I was spot on with, I must say. Hannah's insecurities about her own looks is what caused her to try and preemptively end things with Nick, because she's worried about what Nick is going to think of her when they actually see each other for the first time. I think I'm glad I was accurate in reading that. I had some comments in episode 1, with this being my first time talking about the show. Some people welcoming me to covering this show specifically, something I've never covered before. Rocky Matters said, "Welcome to the love and pain of Love is Blind. This is a weird season to start. Just a warning." So I've been warned that this is a weird season to start. I don't know what that means exactly, but I guess I'll find out what is weird about this season compared to others, even though I probably won't go back and watch others, at least not anytime soon. Carmen55422 said, "I like your perspective on show, so hopefully you will hang in with this one. Sometimes it does get soapy. It's an older cast this year. Hannah is the youngest cast member and said that she quit her job to join this cast, so she took a big leap of faith." That was what I wanted to talk about here, is because Hannah is the youngest cast member, and I guess this cast skews older than usual, according to this comment from Carmen. That is interesting to note, and that makes Hannah's entire reactions in the first 2 episodes make more sense to me. She's amongst all these older women who were trying to tell her one thing about Nick because of her gut feeling. They wanted her to end it, and she went with that. She told Nick that it was kind of others telling her to break up with Nick that made her kind of do that with Nick. And now she's kind of going back to Nick with this possibility of maybe still talking to him. Hannah's afraid that Nick is going to hurt her because of the whole situation with, will Nick like what she looks like when they actually meet each other? So I get it more from Hannah's perspective now, realizing, thanks to this comment from Carmen, that she is the youngest cast member this season. It does make more sense. The other comment I had was Sax Pooby Lex, who comments a lot. Shout out to Lex. Says she's watched 2 seasons. She's watching this one to follow my references. The Garrett and Taylor situation was irritating. He was trying to say she was trying to hide the very thing the show is about. Yeah, I just agreed with that again. Going back to Garrett one more time, he irks me, definitely, for sure. The other person that irked me in episode 1 was Leo. And did he continue to do so here? I would have to say yes. Leo's telling Brittany he's crushing on her. He's falling for Brittany. It's almost like a verbal love bombing of Brittany. But then in the same conversation is telling Brittany, well, he kind of feels the same way about Hannah. And Brittany did not really like that. Or Leo's exact quote was like, they're both his number ones. Which is a lot. I think Brittany crying in that conversation made me feel better about Brittany. Not that I ever disliked Brittany. It was just that her edit in the first episode was very much giving, I go with guys for their money. And she really came across as a gold digger in the first episode. In this episode, we see her a little more vulnerable and actually crying about the situation with Leo, which makes me think that she is actually catching feelings for Leo. And it is going to be more than just about his money. But Leo is still in this love triangle, which I guess is still kind of a love quad triangle if Nick is still involved with Hannah, possibly. So I still don't think Leo can carry a love triangle, at least on TV. I get it from the women's perspective. Leo's a catch. He's wealthy. He has a good job. So from that perspective, I can see why he would be in a love triangle. It's just for TV purposes, Leo's not that interesting. I'm sorry. He is not going to carry a love triangle for me, at least not make it interesting. So that's really all I got to say about that. Is I'm kind of already sick of this love triangle. So I hope that starts moving along quicker, or he just picks one of the women, because I like Nick better than Leo. But do I necessarily think that Nick and Hannah are actually going to make a good couple? No. But do I actually think Leo and Hannah are going to make a good couple? No. The other thing with Leo and Hannah is they're talking like they're each other's twin flames. And as somebody very much into astrology, I remember when I first started on an astrology message board way back in my youth, in my early 20s. As much as I believed astrology, hearing about twin flames, I was like, oh, what is this BS? Two souls that are one and they just have so much in common. I remember thinking that was so stupid. And as much as I believe in soulmates, now that I'm older, I actually do think twin flames can be a real thing. However, I don't think you would know who your twin flame is without ever interacting with them. I'm sorry. I know there's this whole concept of twin flames that gets way overblown and borderline cultish. But if you think your twin flame is somebody that you've never seen, I don't think it's accurate. I think in order to... I feel like a kook talking about this right now, honestly. But in order to know that it's your twin flame, I think you have to be able to see it in their eyes. Is that soul connection real? Just talking to people, I think it's kind of more love bombing from Leo. Even though Hannah's talking about it too, I see it as love bombing from Leo. Some of these other couples that we're going to talk about for the first time, Steven and Monica really kicked the episode 2 off talking together. Steven getting vulnerable with Monica that he may have cheated in the past. They were going on about what is the real definition of cheating. Is it physically doing something with someone? In Steven's case, in a past relationship, he was going into someone else's DMs and I guess emotionally cheating. Monica seemed very understanding about that. A later conversation, they were talking about voting, politics. Do they have politics in common? Steven was saying, a lot of these guys come from a military background of some kind. Steven was talking about voting for Trump the first time against Hillary because he didn't like Hillary. The second time voting against Trump because I guess he considered himself more of an educated voter the second time around. I think their conversations as a couple were, I guess, necessary. It would be an interracial couple if they do get together. Politics can sometimes be a big deal in those kind of couples, even though Steven was then going on and on about how when he did his 23andMe, he has his dad has a very big African heritage. I don't know. That kind of made me roll my eyes. But I don't dislike Steven and Monica. I think they have potential there. There is also another love triangle kind of forming. We have Marissa caught in a love triangle with Bodhan, I believe his name is, another person who comes over from a military background. But they really bonded over fantasy books and this story that Bodhan told her regarding how he almost died via a camel in Kuwait. Not even just being in a war in Kuwait, he almost was killed by a camel there. So Marissa's supposed to come back and have a good enough story to match his story about the camel. We did not see her come back with that story in episode 2. Maybe that will come back in a future episode. The other person Marissa is into is Ramses is what I'm going to say for now. These two have more chemistry, in my opinion, than Marissa and Bodhan, even though they were connecting over things too. I just felt more of a flame being ignited between Ramses and Marissa. I think Ramses has a really big personality, which helps. He's very open-minded, which also I think helps. They were talking about gender roles and how Marissa, of course, also comes from a military background, like most of this cast seems to. And she's used to guys in the military who have this military masculinity, and it's not her favorite thing. So Ramses being more open-minded when it comes to like gender roles seemed to really be a good thing for Marissa. I like this triangle way more than Leo, Brittany, Hannah, because all three people in this triangle are actually entertaining, unlike Leo, who's very boring. So I'm interested to see where Marissa actually ends up here. If I had to guess, I would say Ramses, only because I do think they have more chemistry. But I enjoyed the conversation between Bodhan and Marissa. However, it seemed like Bodhan was carrying that conversation, and Marissa didn't really know how to follow up his story about the camel, and it kind of ended a little more awkwardly. Whereas Ramses and Marissa seemed to talk a lot together and just mesh well together. So the chemistry there was giving. We didn't get too much more from Ashley and Tyler in this episode. They bonded over music, listening to 90s R&B together, which I thought was cute. Netflix really don't have the budget to play 90s R&B song. They played some lame pop song, what seemed like a pop song cover. I don't know what it was, but it was very awkward when Ashley and Tyler is supposed to be listening to 90s R&B and you're playing some low energy nonsense. I know Netflix has more money than that shit. The only other couple to discuss is Tim and Alex. Another couple bonding over military background, bonding over religion, and Tim going with stories about how both of his sisters have died in his life. It was kind of dark. I believe, don't quote me on this, but Alex was the person in episode 1 talking to Nick Lachey about situationships, and Nick Lachey saying he doesn't know what a situationship is. And that Alex has always been in situationships, so she's looking for more of a real thing now. I think Tim brings a lot of realness to her because he seems to have experienced a real life with some tragedies along the way. So they don't have a lot to say about this couple, but I do want to see if it develops into more. I think that covers all of the couples that got airtime in episode 2. I'm enjoying the show, honestly, so far. It's not super dramatic yet, but we'll see if that comes with time. Garrett and Taylor being the main couple, not my favorite thing, because I don't like Garrett, but I'm trying to give him a chance. It's just that edit in episode 1, just to reiterate one more time, I don't know why he would get that edit in episode 1, making him kind of look like a jackass, if he's not going to do something else in the future that makes him look like a jackass. I just feel like, Garrett hasn't dated much, in my opinion, from all the stuff he said. And so that also kind of worries me with Taylor. I feel like Taylor just has to do a lot of leading, I guess, in this relationship, but she also seems like someone who is willing to do that, so maybe they will still work out. That's all I've watched so far is these first 2 episodes. We will see what happens in episode 3 of Love is Blind season 7. Thank you for joining me.